Underway. YouTube is already on. Okay. Get the sound on and business. Hello everybody, this is the Slayman Watch report on Tuesday the 3rd of April 2019. So there's been quite a lot of things happening in the last, sorry to look there, in the last 24 hours. So see if I can get to the, okay, so I guess some summary of what has been going on. So we had first just this article there. So there was a report last night that China has been sending 100 troops to Venezuela. So that quite similar to what happened with Russia. So that like would have been some sort of tripwire situation to prevent or to discourage any kind of military intervention. But then later on today is another article. There was another article when China refused report of sending troops to Venezuela to help Maduro. So it's a bit like it's similar to what happened with Syria, where at some point there were similar to what happened with Syria, where at some point there were report of China sending troops to Syria. Then apparently, this information was seemed to it basically didn't happen at all. So there's right this kind of so. Yesterday we thought 100 troops, Chinese troops, being sent to Venezuela, but then apparently this information has been it's not been confirmed. Then okay, so this is about the finger vein vending machine and the global biometric. The global biometric police database. So this is about all this colossal amount of terabyte of information they are collecting on everybody, and now but the new frontier of this kind of activities, like they're collecting biometrics. So it's no longer like telephone call, emails, and what you shop buys. Now that is already basically they already way a means to collect all that very easily, routinely, and now they're moving into biometrics. So it's facial recognition and fingerprinting, the image of your iris, and so that they ordering up all this information. They collecting all this information, then often there have been different agencies that they would be obliged by law to destroy the information, but they're ordering it up. So they're collecting now terabytes of biometric information about an increasing number of people, and they probably would like to have all the biometrics for everyone on this planet. So that's what they would like to do, and they're already doing it quite. So going through by the article, so what makes this story so disturbing is corporate America rushed to put biometric readers and scanners everywhere. So that's the new frontier of. So they try. They also also the DNA, collecting the DNA of millions of people now. They have the DNA of millions of people. Is often collected illegally by different agencies. Is certainly retained illegally by a lot of agencies. Imagine in the not too distant future your new car using a built-in TSA biometric scanner to identify you and your family before you even enter a sports stadium. I don't know why a sports stadium. Spying on people purchasing age-restricted products is big business. AGM and Clear are pulling out the stock to get your personal information. So basically, what interests me about this article is that it touches the new frontier of collecting people information that so they already done, with collecting of people emails and messages and telephone call and recording them and storing them. So now the new frontier of these activities is ordering up biometrics for everybody. So they have DNA, face recognition, iris images, and fingerprints, and all stored digitally. So that's what is quite interesting. So and then we're just at the beginning. So imagine in 5-10 years what the situation with the collection of biometrics. And then so that's just the beginning. And see. Oh. Okay, so usually I talk about certain subjects because I think they're quite central on a lot of things happening at the moment. So this one is, this article, it says, the Utah bans warrantless access to information in the cloud. So we have all these things that a lot of people storing all this information in the cloud now is a big business, and everyone does it, and in the assumption that the information is going to remain private. If you look at the way they've been abusing for decades now, all our information with total abandonment, then I would assume that is probably, all the file people store in the cloud, they all been, our privacy is being routinely abused, and they basically take complete access with this file we store in the cloud with total abandonment, and they index them, and they go looking through them. So the people assume that this information is private. I expect that they're using and abusing the information without any concern or something. So that's what I think. That's my personal opinion. Anyway, so much for all these. And now most of the information people have is all stored in the cloud. So I don't think it's more terabytes of information they completely use and abuse it whatever they want with it, and sell and buy, and to anyone with the money to pay, and the rest of it. That's yeah. Oh, that's interesting. I don't want to mean like this is something. This is basically at least applicable to the entire Western world, but it's like American idiocracy. And then I like this quote from someone called Rod Sterling. We are developing a new citizenry, one that will be very selective about cereals, automobiles, but won't be able to think. So it's it is the zombification of the masses, and three reasons why Facebook Zuckerberg wants more government regulation. Okay, let's go to the next one. The next bit, what is? Oh, okay. Oh, that's a very, very important one. That's a very important. Ecuador president, being Lenin Moreno, threatens to decide Assange fate. Threatens to decide Assange fate of a scandal. So apparently, Lenin Moreno was the the current president of Ecuador, is accusing there has been corruption scandal besetting his government. They accuse him WikiLeaks and Julian Assange of being being the one who disseminating this information. They say after his government falsely accused WikiLeaks of publishing file about a scandal that threatens to bring the president down. That would be a good thing, I think. As Elizabeth Voss reports. Ecuadorian President Lenin Moreno said on Tuesday, which is I think it means today, or yesterday, depending where you are in the world, he would decide in the short term the fate of Julian Assange after claiming that WikiLeaks repeatedly violated the terms of Assange's asylum in London Ecuadorian embassy by commenting on a scandal linking a Panamanian investment company with Moreno and his family. Yeah. So these conditional protocols were imposed by Ecuador on Assange in March 2018, last year, and barred him from commenting publicly on political matters in exchange for being allowed to remain a refugee in the embassy. WikiLeaks has reported about the scandal allegedly involving Moreno and his family with the ENA Investment Corporation, which is through WikiLeaks has not published any documents related to the case. Moreno's spokesman, however, has implied that WikiLeaks has. A search of WikiLeaks website shows no such file. So Moreno appears to have attempted to deflect from the growing scandal by using it as a pretext to blame WikiLeaks and expel Assange. So, yeah. So basically, yeah, that's what seemed to be happening. So, it seems that the government, Lenin Moreno, is trying to a bit like what happened with the, with the dissemination of the email from the Democratic National Committee, DNC. So, which it turned out that they've been rigging everything and to get rid of Bernie Sanders. And then the story became like not the fact that they completely rigged the primaries, but the fact that who leaked the information, how the information came about, and so it seems the main story here is that is probably that this situation is very dangerous for Julian Assange, and but the moment the Ecuadorian government got this big loan from Goldman Sachs and the IMF is a few months back, that you knew then that they were going to find some way to evict Assange. That was probably the deal, but they had to save face, find some pretext or some excuse. So I think in practical terms, the situation is extremely dangerous for Julian Assange. Instead, in that they can either evict him or bring British police in the embassy to arrest him or no, that's only. I think actually quite interesting. Just a week ago, there was this. The people spotted that the landing of this rendition plane, which is a plane which is known to have been used to rendition different people illegally. The last time it was used was to rendition some Russian citizen from the Czech Republic. So they know the people have been known to be used to rendition illegally and very kidnap various people. So it did land in London in maybe a week ago. Then he was around for a couple of days, and he left. He flew back to the United States. So this is all the signs and indication are that this staying of Julian Assange in the Ecuadorian embassy in London is becoming more and more precarious. And it's hardly surprising that Lenin Moreno, which is really a nice, a lovely creature, is involved with his is involved in this financial scandal, because basically what people know about Julian Assange, what people may not know, is that he probably, long before Julian Assange, the first people to be victimized by Lenin Moreno, the president of Ecuador. They are the Ecuadorian people, basically, because as soon as he got elected, he completely reneged on all the electoral promises. He started to launch, start a huge program of austerity, privatizations, pushing millions of Ecuadorian people into abject poverty, and then he started turning against. And then when member of his own party, which is basically a populist party, which is a left-wing populist party, they started to object to these new policies, then they also get victimized. So even the former Ecuadorian president, which is supposed to belong to the same political party, when he started criticizing these new policies, he had to flee the country for his own safety. Even Lenin Moreno, vice president, the person who ran on the same electoral ticket with Lenin Moreno, he started criticizing these new economic policies, and then ended up so Lenin Moreno working together with the totally corrupt judiciary in Ecuador, set him up as for fake allegation of corruption. So his own vice president, after some time, ended up in prison, ended up on hunger strike. The last I heard about it, he was actually close to death. That was some time ago, so I don't know what happened afterward. But his vice president was a guy called Jamie Glass, and at the last time we knew anything about him, he was in prison, hunger strike, close to death. So he's doing these things to his political allies. He's doing things to the people of Ecuador. So imagine, it's the first people. He is victimizing the Ecuadorian people and his political allies even before starting to victimize Julian Assange. So let's have a look, see if we can get some other news. And okay, right. Okay, Verizon begins rolling out its 5G wireless network. So that's increasing is becoming commercially available. G5, MI5 sought immunity for agents, criminal acts. A UK tribunal is being told. So that's from The Guardian. So I don't want to dwell on this. Let's have a look. This is a very, very, very interesting one. The Intercept shut down access to the Snowden files, to the Snowden documents. So that's quite interesting, because there have been a lot of people asking a lot of questions about the Intercept, the fact that after a number of years, there's just this very small fraction of the Snowden file being published. We talk about less than 1%, I believe. People, there was some sort of disquiet in alternative media, etc. Hardly, after the creation of the Intercept, there's been hardly any more Snowden document being, well, maybe a few. And so there was quite some disquiet. People I think the first thing to be said is that the Glenn Greenwald is a person of great integrity, but so you have to wonder how we can possibly work for or to work together with Piero Midyar, which is Piero Midyar is basically the Intercept was created, I think, was between Glenn Greenwald and together with Piero Midyar. Piero Midyar was founding the whole venture, and so the Intercept is owned by First Look Media, which is completely owned by Piero Midyar. So you have to wonder, you can question the integrity of Glenn Greenwald on the evidence of his statement, but you have to wonder, sometimes people end up finding themselves entangled in strange situation and strange company, and you have to wonder how Glenn Greenwald can possibly find it acceptable to work together with someone like Piero Midyar. Piero Midyar, he was the former founder of eBay and PayPal, so he's one of the richest men on the planet. But instead of Piero Midyar, instead of going on some tropical beach enjoying his money, he positioned himself at the center of this spider web of think tanks, and we're talking thousand actually, small organization. It's like an octopus, and at the center of this spider web of think tanks, NGOs, AstroTurf groups, which basically they actually aim to control the narrative, the social and political narrative in so many countries. You may even say that they try to control the political narrative all over the world in a way. One of the main activities to discredit people like Jeremy Corbyn, or politicians in general, populist politicians which try to look after their own people instead of looking after the interests of the bankers, or promoting regime change. So this is the guy Piero Midyar is at the center of this big spider web of aiming to control the social narrative, the political narrative, discredit, target any number of politicians and public figures, promote regime change in certain countries. So you have to wonder how, in a way, Glenn Greenwald, which is a man of great integrity, can possibly find possible to work with Piero Midyar. So that's obviously we don't know what, but. So a lot of people have been cracking joke about the fact, they obviously Glenn Greenwald, the Laura Poitras, they were the one which are the depository of these Snowden files, and then this ownership was shared with the Intercept, and the people are cracking joke about they call it the Intercept. It was intercepting all the Snowden file, preventing them from being coming into the public domain. So the joke had been cracked many times before, and now it would appear that people were noticing that no more revelations were being made, no more information become available. So, and then people start to wonder, people start to crack joke about it, the intercepting the Snowden file, preventing them from coming into the public domain. We have the final information. The Intercept shut down access to Snowden Trove, to the Snowden file. First Look Media, the company that owns The Intercept, which is completely controlled by Piero Midyar, also announced that he was laying off several of the researchers who had been charged with maintaining the documents. So that it would appear that basically they winding down the operation at The Intercept. So you could argue that there's been, there was this Snowden file. People were expecting a lot of information, a revelation about a number of subjects. That there was this operation anyway. This operation, the creation of The Intercept, to slowly shut down access to the Snowden file without being too obvious about it. And finally, after 3-4 years, the Intercept shut down access to the Snowden file, which then obviously there's no way people get, in the future, they apparently, they say, laying off these people, so probably charged with maintaining the documents. So it would appear that they actually although winding down operation at The Intercept. So basically, it does seem like a quite complex operation to take the Snowden file out of the public domain without being too obvious about it. Over the past several years, The Intercept is owned by First Look Media, as maintained. Oh boy, there we go, lost the page. As maintained, we can go back. The Intercept, which is owned by First Look Media, which is completely a creature of a creation of completely controlled by Piero Midyar, has maintained a research team to handle the large amount of documents provided by Snowden to Intercept journalists Laura Poitras and Glenn Greenwald. In an email to staff on Wednesday evening, First Look CEO Michael Bloom said, as other major news outlets have ceased reporting on it years ago, The Intercept decided to focus on other editorial priorities. So they seem at least they seem intent of keeping The Intercept going, possibly with a reduced number of staff. After spending 5 years combing through the archive. Okay, they say they've been spending 5 years combing through the archive, but they have hardly published any information in the last 5 years. So they say they've been combing through the archive. But people have been wondering a lot about what was happening to the Snowden file. That people, they say, it's called The Intercept. That they're actually intercepting the Snowden file, they're keeping it out of the public domain. But The Intercept is proud of its reporting on the Snowden archive, and we are thankful to Laura Poitras and Glenn Greenwald for making it available to us, Bloom wrote. He added, oh, okay. It's our hope that Glenn and Laura are able to find a new partner, such as an academic institution or research facility, that will continue to report on and publish the document in the archive, consistent with the public interest. All right, well. First Look Media decision to shut down the archive put an end to the company original vision of using The Intercept as a means to report on the NSA document. In its original mission statement, Poitras, Greenwald, and Jeremy Scowl wrote that the initial mission of the site was in the short term to provide a platform and an editorial structure in which to aggressively report on the disclosures provided to us by our source, NSA whistleblower Edward Snowden. So there seems to be a bit of conflict with Laura Poitras also, which is not happy about this decision, but it then seems that actually is my voice is not 100%, but yeah, that is lead us to another article which came out yesterday, more or less at the same time. Themeter Bar's co-founder, meaning Laura Poitras, from meeting. Themeter Bar's co-founder from meeting, meaning Laura Poitras, after Snowden archive shut down. So it seems that Laura Poitras is objecting to this new development. So to the point that she's been actually physically banned from attending this editorial meeting for following the decision by First Look Media. Well, obviously, so anyway, the good news is that it seems that the document remains in the possession of Glenn Greenwald and Laura Poitras, so they retain ownership of the document. So anyway, there's still the option open to them to find, because with all this huge amount of, people need to understand, with all this huge amount, when there is the release of the terabytes and terabytes of data, like also it has been happening with many WikiLeaks releases. The problem is actually to sift all through this enormous, colossal amount of data. You don't just, you can just, well, you can put it into public domain as the unfiltered, but most of the time, there's something people don't want to do. So there's a huge amount of work involved in sifting through all this document. And so apparently the ownership of the document still remains with Glenn and Laura Poitras. What is going to happen next is difficult to fathom, basically. If they, I don't think it will be particularly easy for them to, on their own, to be able to publish this document. So the suspicion is that they will, so far maybe 1% of all the documents have been published, and the suspicion is that the situation is not going to change anytime soon. So, okay, and it's interesting. It's Laura Poitras is objecting to this, which you can see Laura there in this picture. Laura Poitras is objecting to the decision, and but Laura Poitras has also been fairly compromised in many ways, as someone who has been selling out in a major way, because she directed the first Snowden documentary. I think it was called Citizen 7, and then, but then a couple of years down the line, she also made this documentary about Julian Assange, which was basically, a lot of it was actually some sort of character assassination. So it's a lot of parties which seem to be objecting to this decision taken by First Look Media to wind down the operation of the Intercept. Is also, she was herself quite heavily compromised in she made this documentary about Julian Assange, which was basically some sort of hatchet job, and so it's very complicated what's happened with alternative media, with even with political activism. It's difficult to know who you can trust, what's going on there. Money is always playing a big part in all these shenanigans. And okay, that is actually. So, and let's see, it's coming from the Information Clearing Out, is which is the Excellent Information Clearing Out. Is a NSA whistleblower, meaning William Binney, is saying that government collect everything you do. So, that does not necessarily mind-blowing news, because it's something we know by now. I don't know if why they published this this article just now, because William Bean has been saying these things for quite a long time. My interest in focusing on this article is that about William Bean, basically, because William Bean is the remarkable thing about William is together with he's always been very supportive of our claim in the targeting community. He did attend our conference in Brussels in 2014, and then together with another, later on, a few years later, together with another NSA whistleblower, Kirk Webby, they decided on their own initiative to actually start this questionnaire, which, what's going on there? This questionnaire, which was called the Global Target Individual Survey. So basically, the William Bean, together with Kirk Webby and a few others, they totally support our claims in the targeted community, to the extent that they, on their own initiative, they decided to launch this a couple of years ago, this survey called the Global Target Individual Survey, which then I even spoke with William on at the time when they launched this survey. I was on a conference call with William, and there was Derek Robinson, Ella Free, and Kirk Webby, and so I actually briefly spoke with William, asking a couple of questions about this, what he was planning to do with this information in the future, etc., etc. So that's why the information was from yesterday, from Information Clearing House. It's nothing new. William has been saying this thing for quite a long time. So the only reason I spending some time on these articles, because William Bean has been a long time supporter of the target individual community claims. Then again on Julian Assange, just the fact that he's probably in great danger at the moment to being maybe, I wouldn't say extradited, because the whole thing is completely illegal. I would say more likely kidnapped or rendition to the United States. So Ecuador President say Assange breached term of London Embassy asylum. And it is quite interesting, because apparently, they tried. They first they keep him, Julian, incommunicado for 7 months, starting on last year in March. So Julian was not able to access the internet, to make any telephone call, nor on a mobile, not on a mobile, nor on a landline. He was not able to receive any visitors, excluding his legal team, with the exception of his legal team. Even the staff at the embassy were being quite difficult, even when there was a question of Assange meeting up with his legal team. They were quite difficult, obstructive. They were trying to, delaying tactics and the rest of it. Then, after 7 months, it is a lot of institutions and people from all over the world, they become increasingly vocal about the situation, including the UN Rapporteur for Human Rights, which at the time he went to speak actually with the Ecuador President Lenin Moreno, tried to express the concern of the international community about the way Julian Assange was being treated. So what they did at this point, they decided to lift this prohibition for Julian to have any kind of communication with the outside world, and they instead replaced it with a memorandum of 19 pages, which was basically a list of rules and regulation and restrictions, which is everyone is totally irrational, like really, oppressive and repressive, and most of it quite irrational. So they were saying, like, okay, it restores some of the communication, but to a degree, because recently there was this American journalist visiting Assange, Cassandra Fairbanks, and she basically found that she was treated like a prisoner herself. I mean, and she said, visiting Assange is like visiting someone in a high security prison. Anyway, I think they were preparing the ground for a situation. So they filled 19 pages of restriction and rules, and so obviously that laying the ground to be able to find some future excuse to basically evict Assange from the embassy. So and now finally Ecuador president say Assange breached term of London embassy asylum. So if you consider that. If you consider, it's quite interesting, because if you consider that Julian at some point was given Ecuadorian citizenship, yeah, and also at some point they tried to give him some diplomatic status. So is that the way the Ecuadorian government is treating a refugee, or is this the way the Ecuadorian government treated one of its own citizens? Because I believe that to this day, Julian still have also has been given Ecuadorian citizenship, or even is this the way they treat some of their diplomats? So the whole thing is totally preposterous, but I think it's very dangerous for. I know. It seems that the situation with Julian Assange. Julian has been dropped by mainstream media, which actually media like the Guardian or the Spiegel, Der Spiegel or New York Times, that in the past they actually profited greatly from his activities, and now it's been also dropped by most alternative media. It's been dropped by most political activists, most people on the left, with the exception of this Chris Williamson, which is member of parliament, the Labour member of parliament for Derby, which is interestingly enough, Chris Williamson has now been suspended from the Labour Party with demented accusation of anti-Semitism. So it's been dropped by everybody, but people they don't seem to understand. Let's make a long story short, right? Now they have Chelsea Manning, which just recently tried to attempt suicide. She's again being detained in isolation. The idea is to pressure Chelsea Manning to substantiate some narrative, which has been debunked many times, which the narrative that there was a previous connection between Julian and Chelsea Manning, and that it's actually Julian was soliciting information from Chelsea Manning. Because if they can substantiate this narrative, which has been debunked thousands of times before, they may be able then to accuse Julian of. At the moment, they don't have anything on Julian. It's just a journalist using sources. But if they can, substantiate this narrative, then they may be able to accuse Julian of espionage, which carry even that penalty. So that's the first element of this puzzle. The second element is if they can get Terence on Julian, which they seem very intent on doing, then they can try to extract all kinds of information from Julian. They can destroy WikiLeaks. WikiLeaks is a big, very great danger to them, because people think about the Iraq file, but people are uploading new files every day on WikiLeaks about corruption, about the thousands of files are getting uploaded every day to WikiLeaks. So WikiLeaks, the structure created by Julian represents a big, enormous threat to them. But if they can get their hands on Julian and find a way of extracting a lot of information about from Julian, that may put a lot of other people in danger, that can destroy the structure of the organization of WikiLeaks, and that will be also a mortal blow to all future freedom of speech, all people in the future may consider whistleblowing and exposing corruption intergovernment, exposing corruption interagency or organization, etc. Unfortunately, for practical reason, I will have to wind down this broadcast. But there's going to be another one tomorrow when I'm going to elaborate and carry on and talk about some of the subject I spoke about today, and maybe a new one, which has been new information coming out in the last 24 hours. So that's all for now, and I'm going to stop this broadcast. So